Hello there, kids. Today we are going to learn about or talk about the Earth's layers and its surface. Okay, so Earth's layers and its surface. Knowing Earth, you should know by a fact that it is the third planet from the Sun. If not, I don't know what's wrong with you. Known fact yan. Okay, so I mean sa grade level nyo ngayon, you should already know that. Okay. The only planet known to mankind where life exists. That's why if napapansin nyo yung Mars exploration ng mga scientists ngayon, they're trying to find life elsewhere, no? I don't know, ang dami-dami pang places na hindi na-discover sa Earth. Bakit ba gusto talaga nila pumunta sa ibang bansa pa? I mean, not ibang bansa, to a different planet rather. So, sana they will just use the funds to explore Earth further and improve, no? Especially yung since we're dealing with climate change ngayon. So, dapat main cause of climate change is the amount of carbon present in air, no? So dapat they should have just worked on that to save planet Earth instead rather than to go to a different planet which is Mars and start destroying it as well. So anyway, going back. Earth is not a perfect sphere. Baka isipin nyo da yung Earth na yan is a perfect sphere. In other words, the three-dimensional figure of a circle, no? Round and perfect like a ball, no? So Earth is not a perfect sphere. Hindi siya perfect sphere because technically yung equator niya is mas mahaba. So in this case, the proper term here is the proper shape of Earth is an oblate spheroid. Okay? Oblate spheroid yan siya. Mas mahaba kaunti yung equator niya. A slight, very slight. Sobrang slight lang. That's why basically if you're going to look at the planet from afar, from outer space, so parang perfect sphere siya. Pero because of the given fact that the equator is basically longer, the diameter of the equator is longer, so wider siya. So hindi siya perfect sphere, but instead it is an oblate spheroid. Okay? So what is inside Earth? Ano nga ba ang mga layers and parts of Earth? Inside Earth. So kung this is basically an illustration, not the actual what's inside Earth. This is an illustration on how scientists would illustrate Earth, no? So and if you're going to separate them further, ganyan ang magiging itsura niya. Pero syempre, this is just an illustration based on mga theories ng mga scientists on how they see Earth. Okay? So there are basically three main layers: the crust, the mantle, and the core. It's just that the mantle has the upper and lower layer, while the core has the outer and inner core, which basically sums up to a total of 5 layers, namely the crust, upper mantle, lower mantle, outer core, and inner core. So explain natin yan isa-isa. Ito yung crust, pinakalabas. I'm taking note of this picture kasi dito kasi hindi na illustrate further talaga ng maayos. So dito, this is the crust, yung pinakalabas where we are in. Okay, so this is the upper mantle. This is the lower mantle. This is the outer core. And itong solid na nasa loob na to, which is this one, is the inner core. Okay. Crust is the outermost layer of Earth where continents and ocean basins are found and where life exists. Tayo, kung nasaan tayo, nasa surface talaga tayo dyan. We are there. Nasa surface tayo. So dyan na lahat ng continents, lahat ng oceans, yung base nila, dyan nahahanap sa crust. Okay, they are all present there. The crust is the thinnest layer among all layers. Kaya sige, if nakikita nyo, ganun lang siya ka-thin. It's very thin. And this layer is composed of mainly rocks and minerals. So if naalala nyo, if kayo, since you are playing Minecraft, You do know that digging down, there is only a limit up to where you can just basically dig, no? Hindi nyo na maaabot yung further. Of course, you cannot pass through Earth to reach the other side of Earth. Like how cartoons do. That is basically mainly impossible. There's even a show, a movie about that. Amazing isipin yung technology, pero no, that is basically impossible na mangyayari. Okay, so anyway. So yun na. Like sa Minecraft, there's a limit. So kung sa Minecraft na yun, yung pinaka-limit na napupuntahan ninyo, it's basically at this point. Hanggang dyan lang kayo sa Minecraft. You cannot go further here. You cannot reach this level. That's basically impossible na. So anyway, after the crust, we have the mantle. It is about 2,900 kilometers thick. The mantle makes up 85% of Earth's mass kasi malaki yung composition niya. So which covers the entire mantle is this part, ito. Yan siya. Yan. So imagine nyo na lang yung the space that it takes for this part alone, ha. Wala pa itong side na to. Yan. Kasali din yan, of course. Nikat lang kasi. So that is the total space or volume that the mantle takes up. So it is 2,900 kilometers thick, roughly around 2,900 kilometers thick, and takes up 85% of Earth's mass. Okay. This layer is made of molten iron, minerals, and other semi-solid rocks that can flow under pressure. Okay. The combination of the outer mantle and the crust are called the tectonic plates. So technically, if i-erase ko lang muna to, this layer that you can see, yung sa crust, and the outermost layer of the mantle, yan, that surface over there, syempre all around na yan, that is what you call the tectonic plates, no? Tectonic plates. I explain ko na sa inyo anong tectonic plates. Ano nga bang tectonic plates? Is this the plates that you use there sa table ninyo? Of course not. Okay. So, next tayo. Tectonic plates. So, kung mapapansin nyo, para siyang ito na yan siya. Yung makikita nyo parang like parang cracks. Yan na yung tectonic plates na yan. So, technically, tectonic plates are like puzzle pieces that form the outer layer of Earth. If you go deeper, no? Kung tatanggalin nyo yung land, tatanggalin nyo yung water, you'll be able to see this layer, which is yung surface na nga, yung boundary ng mantle and the crust. You'll be able to see these tectonic plates. So the boundaries, or where these plates touch, are called fault. Okay, so may two different terms tayo dito. These are tectonic plates. Yan. Yung space na yan that takes up. It's like the puzzle pieces. Okay, these are tectonic plates. Yan sila. Where they basically meet, change na natin yung color kung green maybe. Okay. Where they meet, hindi klaro. Kung saan nagmi-meet yung plates, that's called a fault. Okay, kung saan sila nagmi-meet. The puzzle pieces are the tectonic plates. Where the puzzles meet and fit accordingly is called a fault. Basically, ito yung responsible bakit tayo may earthquakes. Kung mapapansin nyo yung sa Japan, that's why if you notice, Japan experiences the most number of quakes average in a day because there are 4 plates connected to it. There are 4 plates that is just there. Japan is basically nasa baba niya lang, no? Yung 4 plates na yan. That's why little movement from one plate, earthquake yung Japan, another movement. So kung mapapansin nyo lang, I'll just erase ko tong part na to. Wait lang. Again, looking at Japan. Japan is here. This is Japan, by the way. So you have plates here. You have plates there. So ang dami niyang fault, no? It's not Japan's fault for being there, pero yun na nga. That's why medyo malakas yung earthquakes dyan sa Japan, and very normal na nga actually ang earthquake dyan sa Japan. So yun na. Again, the difference between the two tectonic plates are like the pieces of puzzle, while where they meet, where you fit them, are basically is called the fault, no? Okay, so once plates move and boundaries bump up or grind against each other, this causes an earthquake. So yung ganyan, tatanggalin ko lang muna yung drawing ko kanina. Okay. So technically, over a span of time, gumagalaw kasi yan eh. There are certain movements kasi along our plates, no? So this basically is certain movements, they grind. Some tend to, like yung term na ginamit ko, they either bump up or grind. This is the point where they bump. This is the point where they grind. Okay, nag-grind yung plates, yung fault. Okay? So, once there are certain movements, once they will bump or they will grind it against each other, this causes an earthquake. So, anong klaseng earthquake nga ba ang pinag-uusapan natin? Depending on the situation that there is in the tectonic plates, or at the fault, basically at the fault, no? Kung syempre earthquakes, kahit maliit lang talaga, even those that we don't notice, it is still considered an earthquake, which is being noticed by mga materials that measure earthquakes, no? So, yun na. Mga apparatus na ginagamit to measure earthquakes, like yung mga seismometer, no? With the use of seismograph as well. So anyway, yun na yung minimin ko dito, that even the smallest can be recorded. So depende kasi yan actually, kahit right now earthquake is happening, it's just that we don't feel them. Very small kasi nga, hindi na dapat pang because of the certain normal movement of the plates. It's just that kung medyo malaki talaga yung like na magbabump talaga sila, and they will grind against one another with more friction, diyan na natin ma-experience yung earthquake talaga. Okay? So, going back to the layers of Earth, we have the outer core, which is 2,260 kilometers thick. So, outer core ang pinag-usapan natin dito, which means it is roughly about, it's this part here. The outer. Okay, ito. Outer core. We're talking about the core already. Okay. So, made of iron and nickel, the temperature reaches between 4,400 to 5,000 degrees Celsius. Okay. Too hot that iron and nickel metals are in liquid form. Sa sobrang init, these metals already melted, no? Nagmelt ng iron and nickel dyan sa sobrang init na yan. So, you don't have the idea how hot 4,400 to 5,000 degrees Celsius is. Just imagine when water is boiling. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius alone. Okay? 100 degrees Celsius, boiling point of water. Of water, H2O. So, yan ha. Diyan pa lang, you already know how hot it is, 100 degrees Celsius. What more ang 4,000 to 5,000? What more yung inner core na? Okay? So, this layer is responsible for the magnetic field. Anong magnetic field? This is the magnetic field. Okay, erase ko muna yung erase all. Okay. This layer is responsible for the magnetic field of Earth. The magnetic field is responsible as well for protecting us from the sun's damaging solar wind. Ano nga ba tong solar wind? Yung solar wind kasi, there are certain activities brought by the sun. And with this solar wind, once magkakaroon ng reaction doon sa surface ng sun, syempre, since sa outer space siya, so yung reaction na yun will be blown away to different directions in outer space. So, it just so happen na umaabot dito sa Earth. And pag aabot yan dito sa Earth, it can cause damage, a lot of damage. Like, mawawalan tayo ng signal, literally, mawawalan ng connection, kuryente. It can damage a lot of instruments dito sa atin, electrical instrument devices. So, good thing that we have this magnetic field, which is basically protecting us from the sun's damaging solar wind. Okay? So, yan yung effect ng magnetic field. So, thanks to the magnetic field, thanks to this outer core, we have our magnetic field, okay, which basically protects us. Okay? So, we also have the inner core, which is about 2,500 kilometers wide. So, from this point to this point, it's 2,500 kilometers wide. Okay. So, all in all na yun. All in all. A huge metal ball mainly made of iron. So, it is metal. They consider it as solid. Solid siya. So, isipin nyo ha. Metal siya, solid siya. Kahit even though yung outer layer na yan is already considered na paano ba yan? Melting point na yung others, no? It's already melting. Pero yung sa loob, it's solid. So the temperature reaches between 5,000 to 6,000 degrees Celsius, higher than yung sa outer core, mas mainit. It's just that this layer remains solid despite the temperature because of the immense pressure around it. Sa sobrang init, aside from the heat, with too much pressure around it, it remains solid at some point. Kasi hindi niya sa sobrang pressure nga, hindi niya na alam how to react. Basically, with the immense pressure, it has nowhere to go, so it remains solid at some point. Okay, so yan ang basic layers natin. So we have this crustal movement. Ano nga bang crustal movement? Theoretically, Earth looks like this 200 million years ago. If mapapansin nyo, if you're going to look at Earth 200 million years ago, if we are given the chance, okay, so this is just a theory on how Earth looked like 200 million years ago. So if mapapansin nyo, what do you notice? There are certain phase of Earth na talagang water lang. Why? Because at this point, most land are connected. They are all combined together. Okay? Yan yung theory nila dati. That 200 million years ago, all land are connected. So there are two theories that explain how Earth came to be today compared to how it looked like 200 million years ago. One is the continental drift, and the other one is the tectonic plate drift. So continental drift muna tayo. All continents used to be as one continent. Yan ang sinasabi nila. Known as the supercontinent, which is called Pangea, which means all land. Okay, so yung supercontinent na yan, yung buo na yan kanina dito. Yung whole island na yan, yung buo sila lahat, is basically called Pangea. Okay, forces acting against the crust cause Pangea to drift away, hence the name continental drift. Okay, so dati daw buo talaga yung lahat. So I am going to show you a GIF. So this is basically like showing us how these continents drifted apart, no? Yan yung ibig sabihin yan. How they came to be today. So isipin niyo, no? They came to be as one giant land, supercontinent nga, as what they call as the Pangea, which means all land. Okay. So because of the forces acting on crust, caused Pangea to drift away, hence the name continental drift. So yun na yung movement kanina. If mapapansin nyo yung sinasabi ko sa inyo kanina, yung sa let's just go back there. Yan, ito. This movement na to, so yung tectonic plates na yan, with their constant movement over millions of years, kasi every year nga gumagalaw sila by a few inches. per year. So imagine nyo yung impact na yan after millions of years. That's why they came to this theory na yung continental drift nga. So ito daw yung nangyayari. So, in other words, 200 million years later after this year, most likely iba na naman ang itsura ng planet Earth. Okay? So tectonic plate theory or drift, each plate carry both continental and oceanic crust that are in constant motion. So technically it's just the same, similar lang siya. The plates either pull away from one another, slide against each other, or come together. So just like how an earthquake, no? How earthquakes happen. So it's either they are going to pull away. So imagine nyo to, pulling away of land. That's why nga they tend to drift apart. One is slide against each other, which is ito. That's why after a huge earthquake, nagkakaroon ng crack. Either it's through sliding or when they pull away from one another. And the other one is when they slide against each other. So when they slide kasi, one tend to go down and one to go up over the other. So yan yung nangyayari sa tectonic plates. So these are theories that support that Pangea existed 200 million years ago. So funny, no? If you notice yung continental drift kanina, if you notice about the continental drift, and since you already know what continental drift is, ito nga, yung kanina, this one. This now explains yung palabas, yung Ice Age. Do you remember Ice Age? Continental drift. Yan yung actual reason na yun, yung intro nila. That's the reason bakit nila ginawa yung ito na nga, the intro of this continental drift thing, yung Ice Age, is to show you basically about Pangea, how Earth happened to look like today. Okay? So, try natin. So, andyan na naman siya. As you see, trying to plant this ano ba yan siya? Walnut ba yan? Trying to, because of actually siya ang reason kung bakit nagkaroon ng continental drift. I mean the purpose of this show. The purpose of this intro. See? Point of na-reach niya yung inner core. Oh, yan. Napanood niyo yan? It shows yung Earth, how it looks like before. Funny that itong part na to ngayon din. It also shows us kasi that when there's a certain movement doon sa inner core, that's where this guy is. Once there's a certain movement there, nagkakaroon ng activity, other abnormal activity yung Earth. So that's basically why this is happening right now. Nag-drift away. Nagkakaroon ng drift kasi. Africa. The reason why giraffes have long necks. So yan yung sense of humor ng Ice Age na to. That is the reason why. At least ngayon, since you already have the idea about continental drift, at least. Okay. So at least at this point, malalaman nyo na talaga ito yung sense of humor ng Ice Age Continental Drift. At least now that you already have the idea of Continental Drift, what Continental Drift is, ito yung the reason why nila ginawa itong intro na to, to make sense on their perspective. Okay? So this is basically it. This our topic ends here. The funny thing here. So continue na lang natin. Okay? So that's it. We are done. That's all for today.